Hey!
I was hoping that one wouldn't stop.
I had to think mid yell that I could blow out my throat, so I better calm down a bit. 'Cause I was never actually trained. Believe it or not.
I wasn't either, and I was a singer. So,
Uh, Welcome to Business Pants, everybody. This is Thursday, April 9th, 2020. This is a Biz Nuggets Day. That's Matt Mascardi. I'm Damian Rollis. Well, talk a little bit, Matt. Anything to say up front?
you know what? Nothing. I got nothing to say.
You're
Except
busy.
it's so much coronavirus that I mean, have we reached peak coronavirus yet? Can we say we're at peak coronavirus yet?
No, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was talking to some friends. Like, I don't even really know what's going on anymore. Like, I've entered an official phase of numbness. I feel like I'm like coated in Vaseline. I don't know. I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't know what's real because 90% of my day is probably in the internet. I don't know what's real in there. And half the stories are either coronavirus or how everyone's going to be better after coronavirus because everyone's going to do the right thing. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's real anymore. I just don't know what's going on. So yeah.
Well, I'm done with it. So let's just do
You
a
know,
big
so
pile
you're
of Biz
going.
Nuggets.
You're going to go to the restaurant today. Is that what you're saying?
I'm actually gonna go lick a handrail.
Like, go to school, go to a
Join
restaurant.
those memes. I'll be the one person at the school. I would love to drop my kids off at school.
I did
That would
just
be
read
great.
that Japan is trying to do a lockdown. I have a friend in Japan who she's been bugging me saying that she can't believe her prime minister's such an idiot because she wants the country to go into lockdown. And then I read this morning that they kind of tried, but he's letting bars and barbers stay open.
Only the essentials.
So how the hell is that going to work? I mean, yeah. So yeah, I'm guessing that no coronavirus affected people will go to a bar, so everyone's going to be safe.
If this keeps up, I'm just gonna shave my head because I'll start to look like a Q-tip pretty soon, and it's gonna be pretty bad.
You should. You should anyway. It's always fun to shave your head. All right. Ready? Do I get some Biz Nugget music?
There it is.
Oh. I'm gonna have a little sip of disgusting cold coffee. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's get into some Biz Nuggets.
Only one story in wars. More than 460,000 Chinese businesses were closed permanently in the first quarter as the coronavirus went from Chinese epidemic to global pandemic. More than half of them were relatively new businesses with just 3 years in operation. That's 460,000 Chinese businesses closed permanently. But these companies are just part of the supply chain, right, Matt? So they're not real people, so who cares?
Wait, there were people at those companies?
Yeah, I don't think so. There are no actual people in China, are there?
This is where news breaks.
Yeah, we should investigate this because I personally don't think there are people in Asia. I think it's just supply chains.
I'm pretty sure. I thought it was just a place where logistics happened.
Let's jump over to big data. There's always a lot of fun in big data. First off, France's competition authority ruled on Thursday that Google must pay French publishing companies and news agencies for reusing their content.
Wow.
That's a big one.
That
Google
seems
said it would.
legit.
And Google is not arguing. Google said it would comply with the French Competition Authority verdict, which followed a complaint by unions representing French press publishers. So, is anybody else listening? Unions accomplish shit, and Google is willing to pay for stuff. This could be the start of a revolution.
It really is the apocalypse. It really is the apocalypse.
Another news, Apple will produce 1 million face shields per week for medical workers. Apple has also donated 20 million N95 masks for governments and hospitals. Also, Pinterest CEO Ben Silbermann has partnered with leading health experts from institutions like Harvard and MIT to develop and launch an app that allows people to self-report their symptoms to help track coronavirus spread. Meanwhile, Facebook hampers do-it-yourself mask efforts, saying it had made an error in threatening to ban the organizers of hand-sewn masks from posting or commenting on its site. Oh, and they also unveiled a new app for couples that we reported here yesterday. So, Zuck being Zuck, I guess, saving humanity as usual.
I would call that all wins. That seems like a wins all the way around.
At the same time, Amazon, of course, is in the news. Amazon,
how dare they?
Seems to be.
Do you need to read the full story, or can you just say Amazon?
I know Amazon sucks. But actually, I have two groups of Amazon stories today. This is the first one. Amazon keeps shifting its definition of what is essential. On March 17th, Amazon informed U.S. sellers that it would no longer accept non-essential products at its warehouses. As of April 6th, you could still order a bowling ball, a 10-pack of rubber chickens, and a prom dress and have them show up at your door within a week.
I can attest to that. We have 400 rubber chickens here because there were none at Stop and Shop.
Oh, also going on at Amazon, there's reporting out this week from ProPublica, which is calling Amazon's self-publishing arm a haven for white supremacists, saying that Amazon gives extremists and neo-Nazis banned from other platforms unprecedented access to a mainstream audience and even promotes their books. So there you go, Amazon.
I mean,
yeah,
Nazi Kindle is a big thing. I think, isn't that the next version?
Let's hope. At least it's honest. Let's jump over to Inside the Pants. We take a closer look at our industry. Not much going on today. Morgan Stanley plans to hold its annual shareholder meeting on May 21st in person.
Well done, Morgan Stanley. Slow clap for Morgan Stanley. Getting it done.
So take that, wimps. Also in the news today, Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman, who fell ill with the coronavirus about 3 weeks ago, has since recovered and been cleared by physicians. So maybe old James is like, I can't catch it again, bitches, so let's party.
How much do you think he licks his palm before shaking everyone's hand at the shareholder meeting?
Also, we talked about the Pope being the world's greatest CEO yesterday. How about the UK, the United Kingdom, as your typical garden variety corporation that can't figure out its shit? Why? Because the reporting this week is that the UK does not have a clear emergency succession plan for its prime minister, who is currently.
Congratulations. Congratulations, UK. Maybe they should hold a shareholder meeting to figure it out.
In person. All right, let's go to the apology tour. There's a lot of fun in the apology tour today. Zoom is winning the apology week, Matt. It's
Zoom
kind of stealing
is a walking apology tour right now. Good for them.
I have a little research on Zoom at the end of this, so stay tuned.
Oh,
teaser. Stay tuned for the next 15 seconds. So we've already reported a lot about Zoom this week. I'm not going to go over the other things that's screwing up. Here are two things I haven't mentioned. Google is banning Zoom software from employee laptops, so that seems to be a fail there, Zoom. Mm-hmm. Zoom has also admitted that it routed some calls through China after it was reported by security researchers at Citizen Lab. Zoom apologized, so no biggie, I guess. Speaking of Zoom, here's our quick and easy free research from Free Float Media. I took a quick peek at Zoom's board, okay?
Ooh, they have one.
Yeah. So there are 7 independent directors meant to counterbalance the power of company founder, CEO, and chair Eric Yuan. You got that? He's the founder, CEO, and chair.
Yeah.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 of these 7 directors are on the board, and I'm quoting from their website. 2 of these directors are on the board because of their experience in the venture capital industry.
Okay. Solid.
2 other directors are on the board because of their significant financial expertise. All right. Okay. So 4 out of 7 directors, that's about almost 2/3 of the board, are there, and they're there to act as a counterbalance to Eric's dictatorship because they are good at counting money. So. I have an easy fix for you here at Free Float Media. If you're listening, Zoom, I know you are. Eric, first of all, you have to step down as the chair. Stop. You cannot be the chair anymore. It's ridiculous. Okay? And then beyond that, Eric, you get to keep 1 director who cares about money and replace the other 3 with directors who care about, I don't know, how about running a technology company that specializes in video conferencing software, okay? And I'll make it easy for you, Eric. keep the woman. You have one woman on your board who's a financial expert. She used to be the COO at Deutsche Bank, so that sounds important. So keep her, Kimberly Hammonds, and then just get rid of the other dead weight. Sorry, I'm looking at you, Bart Swanson.
Ooh, good
but
name.
serving as an advisor at Horizon Ventures Limited, a venture capital firm, sounds pretty stupid to me. So I'm telling you, Zoom, get yourself 3 more intelligent women who know what you're up to, and maybe you can start fixing some shit. So there you go, Matt. I solved everything at Zoom.
Well, except for one thing,
Yeah.
which is they need to move their supply chain out of the 460,000 suppliers from China and over to somewhere else, because
I can't help with
supply chain.
Can't help with that. All right, and finally in our apology tour, not to be outdone, I wanted to mention that Boeing once again surfaces.
Oh, thank God. I was so afraid we wouldn't have a Boeing story.
Boeing announced on Monday that it will refly its Starliner spacecraft without astronauts to demonstrate the vehicle's safety for NASA. The decision follows the initial uncrewed flight of Starliner, when what was supposed to be a week-long mission was cut to 2 days, and then a plan to dock with the International Space Station was abandoned due to a mission elapse time error. Here's the true shocker, Matt. A team of investigators found 2 major software errors during the mission. So, yeah, Boeing.
Honestly,
Staying in the news, Boeing.
So first of all, they set aside $40 million to do this, right? That was the number, 40 million. I believe it's 40 million. And they were complaining about like closing down the plants in South Carolina and receiving federal aid. So they're spending money to send an unmanned space flight because of a software error, but making sure their employees continue to get coronavirus. I would call that a double win if you're Boeing.
And to be clear, like we have these we use a news aggregator, right, that collects all these stories, thousands of stories every day, actually, covering all types of corporate news. One of which is corporate apologies of all kinds. And so this is what the aggregator grabbed. Another story about Boeing. So it's not like I'm not going out looking for Boeing crap. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, this stuff just surfaces every week. Like, it just comes in, and I just collect it. I just like they're amazing. They're really amazing.
Second question: Can you stop having the guy who programmed Napster doing your space technology?
Wait, is that true?
No, but it feels like it's a 14-year-old in his fucking garage writing the technology to fly planes and spacecrafts. Why are there so many software errors? I mean, I can go online and I can play a video game for like 6 hours and get no glitches. You can't send an airplane into the sky without needing to restart it every 51 days. Or send an unmanned one to prove that it won't crash. That seems like basic.
The last story in our apology tour is about Matt's favorite coffee company, Chinese coffee chain Luckin Coffee.
I'm a little disappointed with Luckin.
They issued an official apology statement this week on WeChat, which is a chat app in China, regarding the recent fraud allegations that saw the company's stock dip nearly 80%. So here's the apology from Lu Zhengyao, chairman of Luckin Coffee. The company has been running too fast in the past 2 years, causing a lot of problems. Now I have taken a bad fall. As the chairman of the board, I am responsible for it.
Ooh.
I sincerely apologize to everyone through my WeChat moments. Sorry, everyone. So this is that's the actual apology, and I yelled there because there were 2 exclamation points. So what do you think, Matt?
Is
this good enough?
It sounds less like part of it sounds less like an apology and more like he literally fell down the stairs and needs a walker from now on. But it is nice that a chair came out and said, "This is entirely my fault." That feels nice.
How about
Feels
that
like
you're the chair of
warm water.
How about that you're the chair of a company with fraud allegations, that your stock almost completely collapsing. You're saying you're responsible for it, and yet you still the chair of the company. How about that?
That's something
That's pretty
else.
good. Pretty good. All right, let's jump over to CEO's rule. All right, back to Amazon, back to Lex Luthor, Jeff Bezos. So Jeff Bezos makes a surprise visit to Amazon warehouse and Whole Food store amid worker safety concerns.
Like the president visiting a hurricane site.
I know, and it's like this guy is so disconnected from his empire that when he shows up, it's a surprise. I mean, that's telling you something. But anyway, in a video poster to Twitter, Uncle Jeff can be seen walking through the facilities while donning a face mask and thanking employees.
Shaking their hands.
Lurking behind him was Superman without a mask, wondering why Lex Luthor bought Whole Foods instead of Trader Joe's when Trader Joe's has way better munchies for stoners. Meanwhile, several Amazon workers told CNBC they've received no pay or were given only 60% of their weekly paycheck, despite meeting the requirements for paid sick leave. Many of them are now applying for unemployment benefits in order to make up for gaps in their income. So congratulations, Jeff.
I think James Gorman, the CEO of Morgan Stanley, and Jeff Bezos must have a timeshare together somewhere. I do like the idea that he probably came down in a helicopter, landed in front of the warehouse, was escorted by a team of bodyguards, did his photo op as he walked through, and then as he gets on the helicopter, is like, wow, this place is a shithole and everyone's diseased. We need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you. Speaking of a-holes, because you were speaking of that,
I was.
Richard Branson. This is the news this week.
Oh,
Richard Branson
I kinda
moving
like that guy.
moving assets from the U.S. to the British Virgin Islands. So he's shifting some assets to a tax haven, highlighting his use of tax havens at a time one of his businesses sought a state bailout because of the coronavirus pandemic. So filings are showing that a Delaware-based company for his $1.1 billion stake in Virgin Galactic Holdings transferred shares in the space travel firm on March 16th to the Caribbean territory where Branson lives and where residents pay no income or capital gains taxes. So there you go, Richard Branson. Congratulations. Good go.
I don't. I mean, the name of the company is Virgin Atlantic. He lives there. I mean, it doesn't feel as sleazy as it could. Like it's not.
No, Virgin. Wait, what's Virgin Atlantic?
That he owned.
Virgin-
It was the company he started. It was the airline he started. Richard Branson's airline. He sold it.
Oh,
He sold it to Alaska.
Galactic. This is for Virgin Galactic, the one that's trying to go to Mars.
Well, I just think. I don't know. I mean,
You're pro tax haven.
I don't mind that. It would be one thing if you lived in New York City and you were domiciled, quote unquote, in like the island of Guam. But this isn't. I mean, this is like he lives there. His companies are named after the place. It's not that bad. I'm not that bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it does make me that sad.
Finally, in CEO's rule, the number of U.S. CEOs who lost or left their jobs in March tumbled by 27% month over month. The March total is 30% lower than a year ago. So there's another thing we can blame on the coronavirus, Matt. It's making us keep our crappy CEOs.
Yeah, well, they're all cheaper now, so they all
that's
come. They all come with a 20% base salary cut.
All right, let's jump over to the big gig. Uber stays in the news.
Another one.
Uber said on Monday, its app, in a self-congratulatory press release here, says on Monday, its app will list job openings in the delivery, food production, and grocery industry so that its U.S. drivers can access during a slump in ride-hailing demand due to the coronavirus.
Will those drivers have to be driving while reviewing those jobs? Because that sounds less safe. Also, we know that they have Clorox now. So what's their excuse for not driving? Because Uber handed out Clorox, didn't they?
What didn't make it to the story is all the virtual high-fiving on Zoom in the Uber boardroom because of the company's great success in creating this amazing loophole that allows Uber to not actually help its workers during a pandemic, but merely to tell them to get a different job. How about that?
It is clever.
All right, stakeholders rule. Jump over to stakeholders rule. Yelp. I only have one story here. Yelp announced it is laying off 1,000 employees and furloughing about 1,100 more due to impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic. Matt, Yelp is still a thing?
The real story is they had 2,000 employees.
I know, right? This is a company that this is what you get when you go to Yelp. You get Truckers for Trump 69 telling you that they just had the best fries ever. Like, this is a company still? I don't. 2,100. I'm sorry, but I'm just sort of I'm knocked over by this. Sorry, Yelp. I'm sorry, Yelp. Finally, today's Biz Nuggets. This is one that just to toot my own horn here. Mark Cuban says coronavirus will end up improving capitalism with companies putting employees first. Here's the quote from Mark Cuban on CNBC's Closing Bell. It can't just be about shareholders. In fact, you have to put employees ahead of shareholders. Okay, so it's not just socialist losers like me, Damian Rollis, saying it. Now it's fat, pig, capitalist, Mark Cuban types. I shouldn't say that.
Ouch.
Saying employees before shareholders. Yeah, he's not a fat pig. I'm just saying finally regular people are agreeing stakeholders before shareholders. There you go, Matt. That's business.
Wow. That is... If only someone else had thought of that first, like the entire industry of ESG or academics in the 1960s and 70s.
Leave me with this today, Matt. Do we and this is part of why I don't know what to believe anymore, but is it going to happen? Is he right? Are we entering a phase of employees before shareholders, or is it a bunch of bullshit?
Well, here's the thing. 6.6 million more people just filed for unemployment this week. This week, in the past 3 weeks, you've had 22 million people file for unemployment. So the day the employees come first is the day 22 million people didn't just file for unemployment. And the stimulus package, if by stimulus you mean the package that gently tickles corporate taints, doesn't actually just give them giant tax breaks with no real protections for such things as paid time off or hospital workers or healthcare. So, and I'm not a socialist Bernie bro in the way that you are, but even I know there is virtually zero way employees will come quote unquote first, unless you mean whenever the shit hits the fan, they are the first thing that we cut.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, because you know what else is happening this week as states and countries report record deaths and unemployment is soaring across the world? The stock market is booming. It's up 2,800 points this week. It's flying. Like they're psyched about something. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm like so confused. Like I didn't see this coming. I don't know what they're so optimistic about. I don't.
There's so many less employees to pay.
So that's what they're psyched about?
No, they're psyched about the fact that the curve is flattening. It's as simple as that. And you got in Italy talking about reopening in China.
Record unemployment, is not phasing them. Record unemployment.
It won't phase you until they realize that no one will buy anything because they all have no money.
All right, that's all I got for the week.
Thanks. That was an upbeat ending. I'm really glad about it.
Well, no, but I'm gonna
No.
I want to champion Mark Cuban. I look, I like what he's saying, and I'm gonna stay on the Mark Cuban train.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us for the Kick in the Nuts Hour. That is Damian Rollis. I am Matt Moscardi. We are Free Float Media. This is Business Pants, and that was a giant steaming bag of biz nuggets that you just listened to, covering the whole week's news, fact-based news, in as snarky a way as possible, because it's sometimes hard to believe that those were facts. If you like what you heard, please subscribe. Tell your friends. I mean, pretty please subscribe and tell your friends. And also, go to patreon.com/freefloatmedia. Sign up to be a patron of ours. We put out extras for our patrons. We answer their questions directly. We are effectively low cost. The cost of a latte for consulting from two experts in ESG and governance and some finance. Would you call yourself a finance expert? I would not call you that. Okay.
Please don't. But if you have any questions about ESG, corporate governance, fire away, people.
Just
We're ready for you.
become a patron and feed us like literally one latte, and we will give you essentially free consulting. So do that, and if not, which not's not an option, still go give us 5 stars, give us to a friend, share us on social media, say this is the best podcast I've ever heard, because otherwise we won't see you anymore. Thanks to our team here, the two Courtneys, Dan Rogosh-Schnig, Todd Ovanek, and John Walsh. And thank you for listening. We'll be back maybe tomorrow, but probably next week. Maybe not tomorrow, depending on what's going on. But next week for sure, we will be back with more Business Pants. Thanks, Damien.